Okay, so I need to tell you about this coworker of mine, Ren. We work in a pretty small team, just a handful of people, and everyone knows each other's business. Which can be both a blessing and a curse, depending on how you look at it. Anyway, Ren was like the office drama queen, always causing a scene, stirring up trouble, and generally making a big fuss over nothing. I first met Ren when I started working here a few years ago. She was this new intern who came in with an attitude that could curdle milk at 50 paces. We didn't exactly get off on the right foot, to say the least. She would constantly question my expertise and challenge my decisions, which got old fast. But despite all that, she seemed like a lovable loser, you know? The type of person who always means well but can't quite get it together. Fast forward a few months, Ren's performance reviews started to show some improvement. She was getting her work done on time, and even contributed to a few team projects without complaint. It was all very impressive, until she announced that she was quitting, not just for the day or a week, but permanently. And in a dramatic fashion, might I add. She stormed out of the office, slammed the door behind her, and sent a group text to everyone saying something like, "I'm done being held back by these soul-sucking corporate robots." Yeah, it was a bit much. Which what? I mean, I'd heard rumors that Ren had been struggling with anxiety and depression, but no one knew how bad it was. But even if we did, that's no excuse for quitting in such a spectacular fashion. And yet, I couldn't help but feel a little sorry for her. She seemed so desperate to break free from the monotony of our job. Anyway, I didn't think much of Ren's departure at first. We all figured she was just one of those people who overreacts to every little thing, and we'd move on with our lives. But then, out of nowhere, she shows up at the office 3 days later, looking like she just stepped out of a fashion magazine. She's got a new haircut, new clothes, new attitude, and an air of confidence that was completely alien to her previous behavior. We were all shocked, to say the least. I mean, who comes back after quitting and demands a raise? Not Ren, apparently. She just walked in, announced that she'd changed her mind, and expected everyone else to make room for her on our team. And then things started to get really weird. She began showing up at 6 a.m. every morning, insisting that we need more coffee breaks and more creative freedom. She even went so far as to bring in a bunch of fancy business books and start giving unsolicited advice on how to improve our workflow. Which what? I mean, I've got enough work to do without some drama queen coming at me with her self-help nonsense. I know what you're thinking, maybe Ren was just having a midlife crisis or something, but honestly, it seemed way more than that. She was getting crazier by the day, and we all started to get a little concerned for our sanity. I mean, who needs this kind of stress in their life? But here's the thing, after a week of being back at the office, Ren quits again. With a flourish that would put a Broadway musical to shame. She stormed into Hector's office, slamming the door behind her, and declared that she couldn't take it anymore, the lack of creativity, the stifling bureaucracy, the utter boredom of our mundane routine. She threw down her pen, scattering papers everywhere, and proclaimed herself unemployed, as if that was a viable option for someone in their mid-20s. We were all shocked, to say the least. I mean, we'd seen some dramatic exits before, but this one was on another level. Ren stormed out of the office, leaving us all staring at each other in stunned silence. Hector, bless his soul, tried to intervene, attempting to reason with her, but she just turned and ran, leaving him looking frazzled. We were all left wondering what had possessed Ren to behave like this. Was it some kind of attention-seeking stunt? Had she finally cracked under the pressure of our team's demanding workload? The next day, we received a call from her lawyer, yes, you read that right, her lawyer, informing us that Ren was currently unavailable and would not be returning to work anytime soon. Hector, being the consummate professional, tried to maintain some semblance of decorum, but I could see the desperation in his eyes. Little did we know, this was only the beginning. A week went by, and we'd almost forgotten about Ren's departure when her #1 fan, aka Cruz, showed up at our office door with a bright pink "Ren was here" t-shirt and a manic grin. He claimed he had received a mysterious message from Ren herself, inviting him to join us for an impromptu brainstorming session. Now, I know what you're thinking, this sounds like some kind of bizarre cult recruitment attempt, but trust me when I say that Cruz was completely taken in by Ren's latest antics. He spent the next few hours rambling on about disruption and innovation and how we just needed to think outside the box, whatever that means. But here's the kicker, after an hour of listening to Cruz drone on, he burst into tears, proclaiming himself troubled and needing help. Hector rushed over to comfort him, while I stood by, stunned, wondering what on earth was happening. And then Ren walked in. As Ren approached the table, she was dressed in a flowing white gown, her hair styled in an otherworldly fashion. She gazed at Cruz with an unnerving intensity, her eyes seeming to bore into his very soul. "You've been feeling unfulfilled," she whispered, her voice dripping with an unsettling sincerity. "It's time to break free from the shackles of conformity." Cruz, still sniffling, nodded fervently, his eyes fixed on Ren as if he was under some kind of spell. Hector looked on in horror, his face pale with concern. I, on the other hand, felt a chill run down my spine as I realized that Cruz had fallen even deeper into Ren's orbit. And then, just as suddenly as it had begun, everything snapped back into focus. Ren vanished as suddenly as she appeared, leaving us staring at each other in stunned silence. Cruz shook off his tears and muttered something about needing to go recharge before turning and storming out of the room. We were left standing there, frozen in confusion, wondering what on earth had just happened. Hector spoke up, his voice shaking slightly. "What is going on with that guy? What's gotten into him?" I shook my head, still trying to process the bizarre events that had transpired. "I don't know," I admitted. "But I think we're about to find out." Within days, Cruz was back at our office, his behavior increasingly erratic. He would show up late, unannounced, and then suddenly vanish without a word. We were all on edge, wondering if he'd snapped or simply lost it completely. And then Ren appeared once again, her pink "Ren was here" t-shirt now accompanied by a black leather jacket and a sinister grin. This time, however, she wasn't alone. She had brought 2 other people with her, 2 individuals who looked eerily like Cruz, as if they were identical twins. The identical Cruz began to recite Ren's mantra, disruption, and innovation, in unison with the real Cruz, their voices blending together in a maddening cacophony. Hector stumbled backward, horrified, while I stood frozen in shock. But what happened next was something I'll never forget. The identical Cruzes began to merge into one being, their forms blurring as they became a single, androgynous figure. Ren gazed at the creature with an unspeakable satisfaction, her eyes blazing with an otherworldly intensity. As the room erupted into chaos, Ren reached out and grabbed me by the arm, pulling me close. "It's time to join the revolution," she hissed in my ear, her breath cold and rank. I felt a wave of panic wash over me as she began to drag me along with her. And then we were out of there, hurtling into the unknown with Ren at the helm. I still can't believe this happened.